All right, guys, welcome to this week's deal of the week, and this is going to be one that's a little bit different. I'm going to be honest with you because I have a client that is looking at a new construction house all the way out in Wimauma, and I've done deals in Tampa, but I haven't done a lot of new construction, especially out in these sort of neighborhoods that were former agricultural, and they sort of just went in and leveled everything, and they put up a couple of hundred houses. I just haven't dealt with a lot of that. So I wanted to get your opinion on whether this is in fact a deal of the week, because looking at the numbers, it's pretty good. We've been looking at houses in the 350 to 400 range that some of them were 15, 20 years old, were showing their age. Condition was okay, but this is the kind of house that, 1,500 square feet, brand new, but there are some downsides to it as well. So this is the neighborhood here. It's all the way out in Wimauma. It is called Cypress Ranch, and we'll just take a quick look at the map here because if you're not familiar with the area, it may seem a little ways out. So here, this little diamond here is where we're at. So it's just maybe 10 minutes or so from Sun City Center, 15 minutes from Ruskin, about 45 minutes to the airport. The one kind of saving grace location-wise is that it's almost equidistant from St. Petersburg as it is to Tampa. So you get on 75, loop around, go over the Skyway, you're in St. Pete in about 45 minutes, and you get on 75 and go north, and you're in Tampa in about 45 minutes. So in that sense, the location is not terrible. And there's tons of shopping. Sun City Center is quite built up, but this area that we're talking about there's not a ton out there. So you'd have to be sort of okay with that. So let's just jump in and take a look. Now, it is a 1,486 square foot house. It says it's under construction, but it was just done last week. So we're thinking about making an offer on this one. And I say offer. The other thing with new construction is that's the price, man. I mean, that's all there is to it. They don't negotiate on the price, because if they start doing that and they build 50 of these models in that community and you get a deal at 300, then the next guy's going to go in at 299, and it's just going to be difficult. So these houses get sold at list price. The upside is that they are offering some incentives. So let's just jump in, and this is it right here. It's 6010 Ballast Drive in Cypress Ridge Ranch, which is in Wimauma. And I want to take you through, which I think I have it here, is here's sort of a video walkthrough, and we'll kind of skip ahead a little bit as we go through here. So, nice elevation with the two-car garage out front. Here's one thing I will say that I do like a little bit. Let me just back up to this. A lot of houses nowadays, there is no hallway when you walk in. You open the door and you see almost the whole house, or you see all the living area and the kitchen. So you got a nice little hallway before you get into the house. And it's got vaulted ceilings, which is nice, gives it a little bit more of an airy feel to it. Of course, this is a model and it's staged perfectly, but you'll notice here, if you can tell, this is a solid surface granite countertop, which is nice, and a nice big island, very modern setup. I believe this one had GE appliances, which is also really nice. So, and then the other thing, a lot of people aren't crazy about this. This is your sort of dining area, and this is your primary suite right here. Some people are not crazy about that layout. There are some limitations with 1,500 square feet. So, what are you going to do? But, from the kitchen and from the dining area, you can see right into the primary suite. So some people are not going to be crazy about that layout. They label this Sunny Dining Cafe. I don't know what that means or why they named it that. It's a dining area. And the primary suite is not huge. You can't tell. I think it's 15 by 13 or so. So you got a queen size bed, a nightstand, and then barely any room for a nightstand over here. Again, this is not being critical. This is just being realistic about the size of the primary suite. Now, the upside is you'll see here in a second, a very nice size walk-in closet. So that's really, really nice. And then the primary bathroom is really nice too. But you'll also notice here, because this is where, I'm not saying this is where they get you, but this is a house priced at 310, and I'm not saying they cut corners, but they save some money where they could. The countertops in the bathrooms are not solid surface; they are Formica cabinets, and you can almost see that these are just sort of standard faucets there as well. So, you know, you're not going to get high-end finishes at this price point. You know, some of these things could be changed, obviously, if you didn't like them, but that's just being realistic. And it's a nice true split plan. So you've got the other two bedrooms on the other side of the house. Now, there's obviously the guest bathroom, and you can see, just if you're looking at pictures, when you see very sharp cornered edges to a countertop, that usually means that it's Formica. And if you see a gentle rounding or even a bullnose, that typically means, and again, that's not 100%, but it typically means that it would be a solid surface. So they saved a few bucks on granite there. Now, the second and third bedroom, you know, again, the house is 1,486 square feet with a pretty good size living area. And this bedroom is probably 10 by 10. So that's pretty small. Separate laundry. And then, you know, this door here goes out to the two-car garage, obviously. And then the third bedroom, about the same size, about a 10 by 10, maybe 11 by 10. There's a queen bed in there. And, you know, you can fit a desk and so forth. So it's, you know, it's like shopping for a new car. It's beautiful. You walk in, everything's fresh. It's you know, beautifully staged and decorated. And that's, you know, fantastic. So the reason that I like this house, and we'll go through some of the pros and cons here, is the financing. Let me see if I can find where that is. Oh, here it is right here. So they are offering, this is sort of an adjustable 2.9 for the first year, 3.9, and then 4.9 fixed for 30 years, or a 4.5 for the whole 30 years. And this is what, you know, this is what makes it a deal to me, is they're paying up to $22,000 in closing costs. And you're not seeing a lot of buyers, I'm not saying none, existing sellers who are trying to sell their house are terribly willing to offer up another 20 grand in closing costs. We're asking for it as buyers, but because of the housing market the last few years where people didn't have to offer those incentives, a lot of sellers of existing homes are hesitant to do that. So that is pretty cool, actually. So let's just run through the pros and cons here. $310,000 for a brand new build is pretty nice. $209 a square foot. I thought we would never see that again. Up to $20,000 in closing costs. Obviously, with new construction, fingers crossed, minimal maintenance, assuming the house was well built. And you know, there are amenities here: pool, clubhouse, pickleball, some tennis courts, a 1-year builder warranty, and then there's a longer warranty on some of the systems. You know, that's great. You know, a year is going to go by pretty fast, so you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to things that maybe weren't done right or are deteriorating faster than they should, so that you might take advantage of that. Obviously, you know, pretty much all houses, unless it's a flip, are going to need something before you move in, whether it's painting or adding a fence or a minor renovation. So it's nice to just be able to back up the truck. Insurance side, this is a positive, especially now with Florida's insurance market. It's going to be likely quite a bit cheaper than an existing older home because it's built to today's code. And this 4.5% interest rate is really nice. You're talking hundreds of dollars a month in savings. So on this particular house, I think the total down, I mean, you could buy this house for like $11,000 down, assuming you have credit and go through all that. But because they're paying all of your closing costs, and you do FHA, you're just 3.5% down on that 310,000. The cons, and they're not insignificant. It's a new development, so you're going to be, you know, driving home from work every day or whatever, weaving in and out of, you know, trucks and cement mixers and everything else while they finish this neighborhood. The location is, let's just face it, you're out there, man. This is Wimauma. This was all sort of farmland not so long ago, but it's rapidly being built. So in a couple of years, you know, So we say it's not established now. What will it look like in 3, 5, or 10 years? Hopefully, infrastructure gets built around it, more shopping, because there is a homeowners association. There's going to be some standards as far as maintenance of homes. So you've got some safety there. And then the other downside is these CDD fees, which you don't see in Pinellas because there are no new developments over here, but you do see them in Hillsborough and Polk County and some of the places where the new developments are going up. And these are the community development taxes that get added to your regular property taxes. And here it's $2,500 a year. It's $200 a month. That's not insignificant either. So let me know what you think about this house. We're thinking about making an offer on it. It is kind of a cool house. It feels fresh inside. It's a 3.2, 1,500 square feet. I'm not saying that you're going to live there a year or two and make money off it, because the downside to these areas where they're building a ton of houses is that, and it's what my client is facing now, we're looking at houses that are 10 years old for the same price as this house or even more. So you're probably not going to get the appreciation, but if you're looking to move to a place and stay for some number of years and you have limited cash for a down payment and your credit's decent, you could get into a $300,000+ house with, $10,000 to $12,000, which is kind of cool. So let me know what you think. My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm a realtor here in St. Petersburg. Leave a comment. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel. If you're looking to buy or sell in St. Pete or even the Tampa Bay area, give me a call, send me a text, send me an email. I'd love to help you out. This is our deal of the week, and I will see you next time.